Hi everyone, my name is Bronwyn and welcome to this 2021.3.0 STP Phase 2 webinar. This video has been prepared as a supplement to the 2021.3.0 release webinar and provides more detail around the STP Phase 2 changes within the MYOB Greentree product. Just a short disclaimer, this video provides detail on the STP Phase 2 changes within the MYOB Greentree product, but if you're unsure of your compliance requirements, please seek advice from the ATO or a payroll compliance specialist. So just a brief summary of the ATO Single Touch Payroll Phase 2 changes. It comes into effect on the 1st of January 2022 and expands on the information required to be reported to the ATO. The key changes are disaggregation of gross. For example, instead of reporting a single gross amount, this will now be split out into gross, paid leave, allowances, overtime, bonuses and commissions, directors' fees lump sum W, and salary sacrifice, as some of these are treated differently for Social Security purposes. Employment and tax conditions such as employee employment basis, TFN declaration information, and details of when and why an employee leaves. Income types. To provide the ATO with greater clarity, each amount paid to an employee will be assigned to an income type. The use of country codes when making payments to employees with foreign employment income, inbound assignees to Australia, and working holiday maker. Child support reporting is optional, and reporting previous business management software IDs and payroll IDs was also optional and not included in the Greentree solution. What isn't changing is the way that you lodge STP, the due date for your STP lodgements, the types of payments that are required, tax and super obligations, and end-of-year finalisation requirements. Further information can be found in the MYOB Greentree 2021.3 release notes, the STP Phase 2 transition document, and the ATO Expanding Single Touch Payroll Phase 2 link below. So what has changed within MYOB Greentree? In HR Employee Maintenance on the Tax Configuration tab, this has been streamlined with fields in the Employment Details section replaced to gather the information required for STP Phase 2. The fields that have been removed and mapped to new fields are Foreign Employment Type, Payment Summary, Income Type, and checkboxes for Payment Summary has been amended and allow TFN disclosure, as well as the entire onboarding section. During the 2021.3 upgrade, details will populate from the employee's existing detail where possible. Steps you can take before upgrading are to check the setup of this form to ensure this is correctly reflected. For example, if payroll was migrated from another product, does the onboarding section need to be completed, or will you do this after the upgrade? Steps after the upgrade are to confirm that fields have mapped as expected and make any manual updates. Please refer to the STP Phase 2 transition document for mapping for the new fields. A quick way to check this is a new STP Employee Setup script. The STP Employee Setup script is located under HR System Setup Scripts. It lists all employees and the details entered against them on the HR Employee Maintenance Tax Config tab. You can filter this to be by pay group and/or branch, and select to exclude any employees terminated before a given date, in this example 1st of July 2020. Any employees where STP required information is missing show in red. Selecting that employee displays further details in the bottom window pane. For users where the preference setting drill down as read-only is set to false, by double-clicking on any employee, this opens the Employee Maintenance window where changes can be made. As you make those changes, the information displayed in the table updates automatically. The information on this form should be checked for each user. Any in red will not pass STP validation, so required changes need to be made before the first STP lodgement submission. Import and export buttons can be used to export corrected employee details into a file that can then be imported into a live system. Just ensure you have taken a backup prior to making those changes. A new Australian GTHR Employee Tax Config AU free function has also been added. The following 15 parameters are passed in for this function. The pay tax tran type, foreign taxpayer country, tax category, and tax option parameters need the user to input code due to the database design. When you make changes to an employee's income type, taxpayer country, or tax treatment, an event is recorded on the Employees Events tab. Tax treatment change events are triggered by changes to category, options, study training support loan, and Medicare levy exemption. Transaction types are categorized differently under STP Phase 2. The STP tab on the Transaction Types window has been updated and a new component field added for all transaction type windows for pay, deductions, tax, and employer costs. Depending on the window, some STP components will require additional STP type code to be selected. Pay transaction types also require an allowance detail if the STP type code is other allowance. To update, you can either do this individually on the STP tab for the transaction type. Before the upgrade, new transaction types may need to be set up to cater for allowances or pay items that need to be split out to multiple STP categories or STP type codes. So when the site is upgraded to STP Phase 2, these can be mapped to the new categories and codes. Values can be transferred via HR journal entry, and remember to update the employee default pay to replace the old transaction types with the new. You can also update in bulk using the STP configuration utility. This was previously called the Payment Configuration Summary utility and was renamed for STP Phase 2. When a change is made on one form, this updates the other and vice versa. Not much has changed on the General tab. This still contains the contact information for your organisation and other company details that are required for STP. Fields for Report FBT and Payer Name have been moved to this tab. The other tabs let you see the STP properties for all the transaction types. The Pay Types tab shows all pay transaction types. The Deduction Types tab shows all deduction transaction types. The Tax Type tab shows all tax transaction types. And the Reportable Super FBT tab shows all employer cost types and all deduction types where Reportable Super or FBT apply. Each tab uses drop lists to select the various STP categories and STP type codes. Prior to the upgrade, you should confirm the setup on this form, as during the upgrade where possible, fields will be mapped to the new fields. After the upgrade, you should check all items that were automatically mapped via the upgrade process to ensure they are correct. For items that were not mapped, select the STP components and, if applicable, STP type codes for those items. Details of the components, STP type codes, and for pay item the applicable allowance detail are contained in the STP Phase 2 transition document that accompanies this release. Under STP Phase 2, an income type must be recorded for all pays, including historical pays. Where the income type is foreign employment income, inbound assignees to Australia, or working holiday makers, a country code is also required. To update existing pays for STP Phase 2, you can update selected pays for a particular employee using the existing Change Pay script, which is found under HR System Setup. This has been updated to include fields for income type and country code. So let's take a look at the HR script for Change Pays. If I run now and select an employee, we'll pick up Cameron Cook. And let's just assume for one of these pays, we'll pick up the July 2020 pay, that the income type was a working holiday maker. And we'll pick a country just for the purpose of showing how this operates. We'll go New Zealand and select to go Change. This populates on here. It's pay number 954. And if we go to Cameron Cook's employee transaction, you can see for pay 954, this has come through from that script. And if I drill into it, it's also populated the pay here in read-only view. Alternatively, a new Populate Pays with Income Type Country Code script has been provided to update pays in bulk. This can be run for all employees, a single pay group, or a single employee. It runs for active and inactive employees, updating all pays and HR journals for the selected employees from the 1st of July 2019 using the income type and, where applicable, country code detail from the employee record. When run, information is returned advising how many pays were updated. Now let's look at the other script which relates to changing the employees in bulk. And I can do all employees or by pay group or by a specific employee. I'll pick pay group and we'll say the weekly pays, and if I go process, it tells me 108 pays have been updated. And if we go back to Cameron Cook and look at his pays, we can see that it's populated the whole lot with this income type of salary and wages, because that is what he had set here on his tax configuration form. If I went to change that to working holiday maker and New Zealand, that's fine, and rerun this script again, this time we'll do it by employee, Cameron Cook, process, 9 pays have been updated. And if I go back to Cameron's record, we can see it's now all working holidays makers for those. A populate pays with income type country code event is also updated against the employee record to show that this has been run, the pays have been updated, including the values that have been applied. There is no change to process of creating a pay or submitting an STP lodgement. However, on the pay entry form header, income type and country code where applicable have been included. This information defaults from the employee maintenance form and is read-only. Because this is read-only, any change would require either deleting the pay, updating the employee values for income type and country, and recreating the pay, alternatively using the change pays system script to update if necessary. The income type and country code where relevant now also display on the HR journal entry header. This will default from the employee maintenance, however the fields are editable and can be modified to correct any year-to-date amounts for different income type country code combinations. If there are any allowances or pay items that need to be split out to multiple STP categories or STP type codes, these can be done before the upgrade. Also, because the change is occurring mid-financial year, existing pays may contain pay items that will now need to be journaled to have the correct year-to-date amounts. Enter journals if required to transfer items from one transaction type to another for future categorization for STP Phase 2 purposes. The HR Employee Detail Report has also been amended to include additional fields for income type and country. An ATO reason selection is available on the Lookup Maintenance window for termination reasons. After the upgrade, you should map the existing termination reasons to the ATO reasons. This is done via HR System Utilities Lookup Maintenance. Users will receive an error when a termination reason is used or submitted to the ATO where there is no ATO reason selected. Validation as per the ATO requirements has been added at various points within the system to ensure that users are notified of any issues when they occur rather than when these are submitted. A warning occurs on save of an employee and when pays are imported or processed. This does not prevent save but instead warns the user of potential issues that could cause a submission error. On submit, the file will be validated and any errors displayed. These must be corrected before the file can be sent to the ATO. Because of the change to the STP configuration, there are slight changes to the setup for some employment types. If an employee is receiving exempt foreign income, they need to be set up as income type salary and wages, and the transaction type selected in the pay will be set up as exempt foreign income in the STP configuration. If an employee is receiving foreign employment income, then the employee will need to be set up with an income type of foreign employment income and a country selected. When a foreign employment income employee is paid, these will use the standard pay and deduction types. On the tax tab, any foreign tax payable will need to be entered via a transaction type where foreign tax paid has been set as an STP component. If PAYG is applicable, then this will need to be entered via a transaction type where PAYG has been set as an STP component. There has been no change to ETPs, which are defined in HR Module Control as normal and reported in the JSON file in their own section. On the STP Configuration tab for the ETP transaction types, the components section should be left blank to ensure that the gross and ETP information update correctly to the JSON file. The back pay configuration screen allows you to set up rate, amount and tax transaction types. However, you need to assign STP components to each of those transaction types. And that brings us to the end of this webinar. If you have any questions, please email proserve.ed@myob.com. Thank you.